Architect Janet Bloomberg loves living in a historic Washington, D.C. building, but inside her apartment, it's all modern.
Well, I had wanted to be in this neighborhood. I think it's the best one in Washington, DuPont Circle. So this went on the market. It was completely gutted, and it was a mess. I knew whatever I bought, I'd want to rip the whole thing out and redo everything.
Janet designed her 755 square foot apartment to have an open floor plan and lots of storage.
I love being really efficient, so I wanted to put the living room and dining area near the kitchen and the bedroom on the other side, and then I created a closet between the two to give a little more privacy.
Her small kitchen has enough room for 2 cooks.
Most of the apartments in this building have a big wall here, so there's only a one-sided kitchen, but I wanted a 2-sided galley kitchen, so I put a cooktop and a countertop here and opened the whole thing up to the living room. Well, when I first moved in and designed this kitchen, Sean was not in the picture, so I really designed it for my own use, although it works really well for both of us. It's a tiny kitchen, so we don't get in each other's way, and if we're cooking, we can actually share and put the pots here and just throw things in.
Well, we usually have our own tasks. I'm not usually allowed to cook with any kind of oil, because then I tend to spill oil all over the kitchen. I'm a very messy cook, so I tend to do very little of the cooking, and I do most of the dishes.
Because I needed upper cabinets, I wanted to do something more European looking. So I started with just the row of the glass ones across the top and realized that they were actually quite tall for me. So I added in the lower wood ones, which I can actually reach. The upper ones I don't reach very often. This piece is actually a piece of the same cabinetry, and I use it for working, and because it's part of the living room space, it works really well.
I think people forget that the kitchen is a place where you spend a lot of your day, and so it's nice to have your working space right next to it. You know, you're making dinner, you need to sit down and pay a few bills, all of that can happen right next to each other.
This is my favorite spot in the house. I can see the TV, I can read my books, I can lean back on the couch, and we always fight for it.
And you usually win.
The bathroom connects to both the bedroom and the living room.
Most people who've purchased a similar apartment in this building have actually chosen to take this door out and flip the tub this way to make the whole space seem larger. But I chose to keep a bathroom that had a door on 2 sides because I hate when people have to go through my bedroom to get into the bathroom. This blue tile expands the shower space because it's very reflective. It's also receding color so that you really feel like the space is much larger than it actually is.
It's great to splurge on materials and details in a bathroom. You really get credit for it, and it adds a lot of high style.
I decided to go with a wall-mounted sink instead of a vanity underneath because again, the space gets to expand under the sink rather than being a box sitting in the space and making it feel much smaller. So overall, it's a much larger seeming space than it actually is.
Janet carved out a special space for her cat on the way to the bedroom.
In a small apartment, things like litter boxes have nowhere to go. So we created in the base of the closet an area here for him to have his area, and the smells do not come into our space, and the two are very separate. The bedroom has to serve 2 purposes. It has to serve as both an office as well as a sleeping area. And it was never a very large space to begin with, but I also needed clothing storage. Rather than put dressers and wardrobes all over the room, I decided to just take 2 feet out of the space and create a whole wall of storage here. 2-foot deep closets are much more efficient. You can actually use all the space. So walk in, you lose the center. And on this side, I was able to put in actually a drawer unit. Rather than having it out in the space, I put it in the closet, hanging, and then the shelves, so that when you see the whole wall, it's very efficient use of storage, and yet it's all behind 4 simple doors.
Anytime in a small space you can have something go all the way to the ceiling, visually it's going to create a much larger feel.
Like clothing, if you wear all of the same color, it elongates the body and just makes you look longer and leaner. Well, the same thing with a full-height door.
I've never needed or even liked large spaces, so I've always gravitated to smaller spaces, maybe because I'm small myself. I love this apartment. It's very light, it's completely open, it's minimal, it's clean, everything's put away, and I like that.
Next on Small Space, Big Style, Austin newlyweds get a chic condo on a tight budget.
It's like having a pet. It is seriously high maintenance.
We'll just be sitting around watching TV and a big old white tumbleweed will roll by.